Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. Protesters are out in the streets for the second day in a row, a day after boycotting the Tanzania elections that were mad with they destroyed ballot papers and they told Samia Suluhu that what has been clothed as an election is a simply coronation. And it is because the opposition candidates that were supposed to face off with the sitting president were all barred from running in that general election. And the report is very clear that Suluhu was competing against her own shadow. And in a very shocking turn of events, the citizens of Tanzania are begging the military to come and take over. And in this podcast, looking at the lens from Tanzania, I will demonstrate to you that while military takeovers are condemned in Africa, but if African presidents are not careful, that is going to be the way forward. But before that, I'll still want to humbly request you to help us complete this project of the house we are building for Bildad in Migori. We are supporting Bildad to put up. Bildad is a single father of 4. A misfortune. He got involved in an accident, came back home crippled because he broke his spinal cord. The mother of the children was his wife, was supposed to help, left to go work in Nairobi and remarried. So he's been forced to provide for the children, and now life stretched him. That is why we actually captured him in a video where he was actually doing some manual jobs in the community to provide for the children. And when we went, the team went there, they realized that where he stayed was in a very bad condition. So for better part of this week, we committed ourselves to mobilize ourselves to come together to build a house for Bildad and the children. So that is so far where what we have been doing. And
tangu nipate ajali siwezi fanya kazi yoyote. Niko chini. Hapa ndiyo nyumba yangu, niko na watoto 4 hapa. Sasa naomba tu kama mnaweza munisaidie nipate nyumba mzuri. Juu hii nyumba yangu hata iko karibu kuanguka. Na hapa ndiyo nimelala na watoto. Haki naomba tu kwa unyenyekevu na moyo wa Mungu munisaidie haki. Niko chini, siwezi na sina chochote.
I want to say thank you very much. We're already done. Of course, the house has reached there, but we're already done with the materials for wall, the lintel, the roofing. What is remaining, which is the final phase, is what we will need for finishing, which involves windows. We have 3 windows, 1 door, 2 doors, ya nje na ndani, and plaster, na pia tunataka tumwekee tiles because we realize the smithy one is very cold na hiyo condition yake, tunataka pia tumwekee tiles, which is what we are mobilizing between today and tomorrow. We are, God willing, shall be able to close. If we'll be able to mobilize, I think around 80,000, it will help us to do or get all that na pia to be able to do the tiling so that we can leave the team to do the work. We'll only come back in the last phase to mobilize to walipia watoto fees and open up some business for Bildad na tumwache aendelee na maisha. But for now, kindly reach out. Thank you for those that said, Kevin, I'm going to send you tomorrow. Whatever you get, what tunasema kidogo kidogo hujaza kibaba. And I believe that we'll pull it through. This is what we're going to do for the part of this week, and I believe we will pull through. Now, protest resumed in Tanzania on this Thursday. Citizens continued to demand electoral transparency and they challenge the credibility of the Wednesday election that they have disputed and widely favoring President Samia Suluhu's second term.
Hii ni silali asubuhi hii. Wananchi hawataki Mama Samia. Wananchi wanataka haki yao na jeshi limekuja kutupa support. Jeshi liko sehemu ya wananchi, msiogope. Jeshi liko upande wa wananchi. Jeshi liko upande wa wananchi, msiogope. Wanajeshi tunawapenda sana. Wanajeshi nyie ni ndugu zetu. Sisi tunawapenda sana. We love our country. Tanzania ni nchi yetu, hatuna nchi nyingine. Kwa hiyo sisi hatuna shida kabisa na nchi yetu. Sisi tunatetea utekaji. Tunatetea mambo ambayo yanaendelea. Tunahitaji demokrasia ya haki. Tukimtaka fulani ndio huyo ndo tunamhitaji. Hatutaki sisi mambo ya nyunyinyi wala nywenywenywe.
Hawatasikia nyunyinyi.
Sisi hatuna fujo kabisa. Sisi wanajeshi wetu tunawapenda sana. Hatuna nyunyinyi wala nywenywenywe. Kwamba hiyo Samia ndo alisema hatuna nyunyinyi.
The Electoral Commission, I've seen them releasing some results at this point. The biggest mistake that Tanzania Electoral Commission can make at this point is to announce results. I think wisdom is needed at this point. How do you release results while people are in the streets and they are rushing to release it? Remember, election just happened yesterday. It was sham. In fact, the way they have rushed to release the results can actually tell you that the turnout was very low. And at this point, people, the citizens of Tanzania in the streets, they're not protesting because the votes have been counted wrongly or someone has been added more votes. They are discrediting the whole process. And now, someone is coming out as releasing some results. And you know, have a listen to this. If you want to know what is happening in Tanzania, is a big sham.
Jimbo la Mbarali, wapiga kura walioandikishwa walikuwa 244,158. Waliopiga kura walikuwa 231,950. Kura halali waliopiga kura walikuwa 231,950, sawa na 94.76. Kura halali.
Election that was mad with all those chaos and protests, the polls body is reporting a 94% turnout. Where? You cannot get videos of vote counting, even at the constituency level in that place. If you want to know that what happened in Tanzania was a sham, the whole country, the whole world saw yesterday. The people that were supposed to vote were out destroying electoral materials. Even a video from the state, Tanzania, showing that there was some relative camp. Remember, if this was in Kenya, someone would have gone to some friendly areas and show you the way those places peaceful. I remember when there were protests in some parts of Raila fan base, in Raila bases, the state was so keen showing us the way some other places is cool. In Tanzania, that was not the case. So I'm even wondering where the electoral agency got the 94% turnout. I know if someone is underestimating the situation in Tanzania, I think you need to understand at this moment that the voice of the oppressed is very powerful. When people are oppressed, those people are very powerful. I want you to remember the words of Tundu Lissu, the presidential candidate who was supposed to be main opponent of Suluhu. You know, so things are very strong. I have seen protesters in this video that has been going viral. They stormed Julius Nyerere Airport. Yes. They stormed Julius Nyerere Airport And allegedly, according to what some reporters are saying, is that they are looking for government officials and party officials who are trying to leave the country. Yesterday, there were some reports that Jakaya Kikwete arrived in Kenya, rushed to Kenya, just to come and relax this side and watch the proceedings of what's happening from the other end. And I've not seen them talk. They should be there. They should talk. You see, they're all quiet while things are turning out there. And it's a big crisis. You know, now they have now targeted serious installations like the airport. And that is a serious message that to breach that airport, the police are there. They're trying their bit, but they cannot control the masses. Sentiment analysis on various, if you look at social media platforms, they're showing that the Tanzania youth is charged. The country is already charged, and people have overcome the fear. Remember, you know, let me try to use this word, it's called lifting. They have broke the virginity of protesting. They've never had this. And now they're protesting. So people have overcome the fear, and any trigger of announcing results at this moment will actually bring more troubles. And I think I figure out that state agencies are extension of the state. That's what they call state agencies. If there is something that is letting Africa down, is our electoral independence. What is happening in Tanzania is akin to what happened in Kenya in 2024. The people are in the streets protesting about 2024 finance bill, and some characters are seated in parliament passing the same bill that people are protesting about. Where is the wisdom? Where is the balance? In Tanzania, the people are in the streets protesting about electoral results, about the results. But some people are seated somewhere announcing the same results. Now that shows you how selfish the system is. I listened to, there's some time, I think Sifuna was being interviewed, and he said that since he went to parliament, there's some things that he sees in the system. You get shocked and you ask, okay, why are they this way? Must they be done this way? That is what is happening. And I can see this state machinery is normally at the disposal of the state. You can see their social media was blocked and internet banned, and they could not be able to access. The Tanzanians who are living in Kenya and other countries have been calling out their colleagues in the country, their fellows in the country, to come out in their numbers and protest. And at the same time, they're begging the military to take over.
Watanzania, jeshi lenu limeingia barabarani sasa hivi. Wako maeneo mengi, wako pale kuwalinda. Wanajeshi wenu wako pale. Kwa hiyo inabidi kila mtu atoke ndani sasa hivi. Inabidi kila mtu atoke ndani. Tumeshashinda. Tumebakiza sehemu ndogo, tumalize hii kazi. Tukaimalize hii kazi leo. Tokeni kwa amani, tena ikiwezekana chukueni mabango, tokeni kwa amani ili muoneshe mnatoka kwa amani, mnapigania haki kwa amani. Labda vurugu wafanye wao, sio nyinyi. Tokeni, wanajeshi wenu wako barabarani leo, wamejaa kila sehemu. Lazima mtoke. Lazima mtoke. Na jeshi la wananchi, chukueni nchi sasa hivi. Azam TV, mnatangaza matokeo ya uchaguzi gani? Uchaguzi gani uliofanyika? Azam TV mnatangaza matokeo ya uchaguzi. Kwa uchaguzi gani? Nyinyi mnataka hii nchi ipatwe na kitu gani ndio mfurahi? jeshi la wananchi, tunawashukuru kwa ambacho mmefanya mpaka sasa hivi, lakini sasa hivi ni muda wa kuchukua nchi. Wananchi, jeshi lenu liko mtaani, tokeni kwa wingi leo. Msikae ndani. Mkikaa ndani inakuwa hatujafanya kitu. Jana na leo tutakuwa hatujafanya kitu. Lazima kila mtu atoke ndani kwa amani, in peace, sio kufanya vurugu, ila kuandamana kwa amani.
That is the call. If you check Twitter, remember Kenya is, we are following there, and people are asking, guys, why are you following what's happening in Tanzania? We're following because what's happening in Tanzania is akin to what happened in Kenya. And we are not wafer. Someone was even showing me that there are some Kenyans that are crossing over to go and join the protest to help their Gen Z colleagues on the other end. And the East African, and actually Africa must be very careful. The young voices are rising. And I can tell you, Tanzania is already doing it. Kenya is not far. And Uganda is next year. So it's very critical at this moment to follow up what's happening there. They're already asking for solidarity. You look at the solidarity between this, look at this video. The solidarity between Tanzanian officials, the security agencies, and the protesters. And you will agree with us when we say that those who normally cause troubles are actually the police. Because huko watu wana protest, watu wanatembea pole pole, and they're sending their message. When you try that here, you are tear gassed all throughout. You cannot even have peace. You cannot protest peacefully. Now guys, Tanzania is descending into chaos. I analyzed in my previous video that it didn't start yesterday. And I've seen this trend. It happened even here. There is a trend that in this African continent, when there is a trouble in the country, the diplomatic establishments in those countries are more active after there is a mess. And this is it. The US Embassy should be called out on their selective, their selective handling of troubles in the continent. Tundu Lissu, they knew very well. Tundu Lissu, the Chadema presidential candidate, who was the key opposition leader, has been rotting in prison since April, jailed by Samia Suluhu, over that allegedly he ran a campaign saying no election reforms. If there are no reforms, no elections. And in Tanzania, saying no reforms, no election is a treasonable act. So he was charged with treason. And if you're charged with treason, you cannot be served bail. And because he could not be bailed, he had to stay in prison. But the whole thing was the making of Suluhu to make sure that Tundu Lissu is not in the campaign trail. And they knew that. Tundu Lissu has been there in the prison unfairly treated, and they've been quiet. They've been the state in Tanzania has been acting in a manner to suggest clearly that they're not vouching for free and fair election. Yet they said nothing. Today the streets have erupted. The world has begun to watch. Now, they pretend to care more about stability and safety of their citizens, where the voices, the ballots were stolen. They're yet to issue any statement on how that sham election was. The whole world was watching how that election was a big sham. They're yet to issue any statement. The opposition leaders were dragged from their homes. The internet was blocked. People were abducted. Children and young people were shot on the street. All these things happened. Blatant violation of human rights. What they will do, the best they will do is wait after some time, go and sit in Geneva and start issuing statements and, acting like they're reprimanding African presidents. But at this point, they cannot call out what's happening in Tanzania. For them, they're issuing travel advisories and quickly evacuating some of their citizens from that country while the country is going abyss. I think, why rush to issue travel advisories? So they're so keen about stability and safety of their locals there. Well, throughout this, they could not call out Samia Suluhu, while it was very evident that Suluhu was not advancing that. The country is bleeding. The people are suffocating in curfews with self-proclaimed guardians of democracy holding press releases instead of actually condemning what is happening there. Even as we do political analysis, someone will ask, Kevin, but you have a firm stand. Why? I think if you're a subscriber of this channel, we covered protests in Kenya. We called out. There is no in journalism that is said that you need to say it this way. If it is wrong, if you go and someone is killing someone in the street, do you want to go and just report, hi guys, the police are killing someone, they've killed 4? No. You also have the responsibility to condemn. And that is why you saw when something was happening, such thing was happening here, Larry Madowo was condemning the police and was asking them, why are you shooting children? Why are you shooting these people? Larry Madowo was asking. That is part of the journalism. And that is what some people confuse with activism, but that is what is called responsible journalism. And I want to explain here. I've seen Tanzanian artists, creatives. They went, it's too late. They sided with Aki. Hey. Military takeovers are condemned. There is a phobia around it. People fear it, like we don't know what it takes. It has been explained as a mirage that no one really understands. But if African presidents are not careful, the masses, the young population, will only resort and only respect the military. And I want to tell you why themselves they are creating a ground for military takeovers. It is their own making. I don't know that it's deliberate, but I want to explain that. Remember, first, help us finish the house we're building in Migori. And the part that is remaining is we need to get windows, we need to get the doors, we need to get how to do the tiles, I think, and plaster ya nyumba na tupake rangi. That we are looking at a budget of around 80,000. That is what we're going to mobilize between today and tomorrow. So that tomorrow on 31st, it was in my plan by 31st we finish all this, so that we just leave the team to do it. I will only come back when we are paying fees for these children, which will come later. But for now, it is in my interest. Remember, we are building 2 houses. Hii ya builder na wale wa watoto. Someone had already given us mabati. So we are also building for watoto. So really support us in either way you can. Politicians have looted their wealth. Politicians have looted wealth. And they cannot imagine of a day that is not a president. Because all that he or she has is a looted wealth. So they've only activated the mode of protecting their wealth instead of the sovereign voice. And you know what? This looted wealth is within the government circle. Let me challenge you. You know, which business do politicians do that someone is just an MP for 2 years? Hata kama ende alikuwa nauza nini, that MP is able to donate 10 million in a month. Which business is that? It's because it is a looted wealth. And that looted wealth, they have now to posture with it as charity. So that when it is given to you in a church fundraiser, it is given to you in a funeral, it is given to you in some setup, you don't look at it as the loot. It is packaged just to try to wink you. And when someone questions that money, the masses are the ones to lead, saying, you guys are mean, so that is why you are questioning that money. But that is what is costing this continent. And because of that, it is only the military that can save the country from them. In Kenya, the late Raila Odinga was saying, you better have a country that is in shambles, that is struggling in democracy, than having military takeovers. Because when the military leave the camps and take over power, they will not return it to the civilians. But I agree. But then what is the essence of returning it if this is what it takes? I agree when the late Raila said that when the military take over all over the world, they will not return it. But is that the new order? That could be the new order. The second issue where the issue of military takeovers can unchain the continent is because the transition institutions, this is the electoral bodies, are at the behest of the state and they lack the balance. There is nothing called an electoral body in the continent of Africa. There is nothing like that. Look at Alassane Ouattara, Ivory Coast, a big sham. Look at Paul Biya, Cameroon, a big sham. Look at what happened in Madagascar until people protested. You know, it is only in Namibia that the person lost by more than 60%. He could not even act. Look at what's happening in Uganda, Tanzania, our neighbors, and Kenya is not different. People are coming out blood and telling you guys, you vote, isipoja tutajaza. Na ndio maana nahisi kwamba wakati kama huu tunasema kwamba jeshi haiwezi ikasaidia, kwamba huenda jeshi inaua watu, kwamba huenda utawala wa jeshi ni utawala ambao hautakuwa, labda hautaangalia sana maslahi ya wananchi. Lakini kwa kweli tusipojitahidi, tusipobadilisha mienendo, naona kwamba bara ya Afrika itatawaliwa na jeshi. I've tried my Kiswahili there. Some of the dictators in the continent of Africa are made by powers outside the continent. Some of spectators of the African dictators are actually outside the continent. And this has been happening. Let me show you a good example. Look at what's happening in the two conflicts of Ukraine and Russia, and look at the one in the Palestine and Israel, this one of Gaza. If you look at how world leaders are taking stand on it, there is a clear divide. It's a situation where you see US says we support so and so, and they have that stand. And when they support, by the time when they support Ukraine, they condemn Russia. And they will go and condemn. Even on the one on Israel, when countries that are condemning Israel, they come out and condemn. At the same time, they're asking for peace. Now, in African continent, why is it impossible for the foreign powers to take a stand and say, what so-and-so is doing, the election that has happened there is a sham, and we condemn? They come clothed in peace gowns, only talking about the need for peace, safety, stability. But that safety, stability, they cannot take a stand. They cannot take a stand. And that is why I say the Africa can only save itself. Tanzania pia najaribu kusema kwa Kiswahili. I don't know dictators kwa Kiswahili ni utawala wa kimabavu. Baadhi ya marais ambao wako katika hapa barani Afrika wana utawala wa kimabavu. Lakini huu utawala mara mingi inaungwa mkono na nchi za ughaibuni, na ndio maana saizi uchaguzi ambao umefanyika Tanzania, ni kwa ukweli kwamba ile tume ya uchaguzi haijafanya haki, haijatenda haki. Nchi kama Marekani, ili waje wazungumze, waseme, wamwambie ama wamkemee huyo Rais Suluhu, wamwambie kile ambacho nakifanya si kizuri, wao wanakuja wanasema wanataka amani, wanataka utulivu. Sasa ndo tunauliza, wanataka utulivu, lakini kwa huu siku wote, mwaka huu wote, Tundu Lissu alikuwa yuko gerezani, alikuwa ameshikwa kwa sababu ya kutaka mabadiliko katika tume ya uchaguzi, lakini hawakuzungumza. Inakuwaje? I'm trying for my Swahili people from Tanzania. The continent lacks a reputable criminal justice to check excesses in power. This is what I mean. This continent lacks an ICC. This continent lacks some court where an African president can be tried. In fact, where even election results in a country can be litigated. In Kenya, if you go to Supreme Court and some 7 gentlemen receive some money and write their short verdicts, that's the end of it. Even if the country is burning, it doesn't matter. And that is the same problem with Africa. That is why the military have to come. Na nasema hivi kwamba hapa barani Afrika hakuna mahakama kubwa moja ambayo pia labda kama kuna tatizo ya uchaguzi ama rais au viongozi katika nchi labda wametenda mabaya, wametenda maovu, wanaweza wakashtakiwa. Kuna ukosefu wa hiyo, na ndio maana sababu hamna hizo nafasi, jeshi itatawala. Kindly support our support our project in Migori. I've tried some Swahili, and by the way, I can make a challenge. I can make a very good analysis. Next time, the next analysis, tafanya kwa Kiswahili. Thank you guys.